मध्वरम्पर्याय विद्महे ज्ञानलिङ्गेश्वराय धीमहि तन्नो गुरुः प्रचोदयात्। ओम योग महर्षि डॉक्टर स्वामी गीतानंद गिरि गुरु महाराज की जय। नमस्ते, स्वागतम, नमस्कारम। I thought I would share today some ideas and practices that are relevant to the present time. During the coronavirus pandemic, the COVID-19 pandemic, we have focused a lot on our breathing. Often, it is the absence of something that enables us to focus on it. And it's much easier to focus on something that is lacking, something that is difficult, something that has become a bit of our suffering. The mind has a tendency to be velcro to negativities and Teflon to positivities. And the fact that the COVID-19 has been attacking the respiratory system has been something that maybe will start to enhance a positive focus from our side on this beautiful system, the respiratory system, that is a window of opportunity for us to go into the subconscious, unconscious, autonomic parts of our own nervous system. One of the terms that has become very popular recently is nitric oxide. And there's a lot of talk about nitric oxide playing a role in health of the respiratory system. Not just the respiratory system, it plays a role in overall health because nitric oxide is a very important vasodilator. It enables your blood vessels to dilate, which means to relax. And when your blood vessels relax, the blood flow can be healthier through those blood vessels. When the blood vessels are tight, there's not much blood flow through it. It is when the blood vessels relax that the blood can flow unhindered through it. So nitric oxide is a potent vasodilator. Nitric oxide is also an antioxidant. There is an important concept called free radical damage. And when the oxygen levels, we think oxygen is good, but too much of it creates the oxygen-free radicals. And the free radicals that are there, they damage the tissue, and free radical damage is implicated in the pathophysiology of many conditions, especially of a chronic nature, and especially of the cardiovascular system, be it atherosclerosis, be it thrombosis, emboli, coronary artery disease, stroke. Basically, any condition you think of, free radical damage is an important pathophysiological aspect of it, contributory aspect. The other thing that is there is, again, the vasoconstriction that is there because of stress. So there's been a lot of focus on nitric oxide. And I got an email from someone the other day who was talking about it and saying why yoga teachers are not talking about this. And I had to dig out an article I wrote 15 years ago that talks about this. And when I was invited to Delhi to present on yoga for the Sinusitis. I was given the topic of role of yoga in sinusitis. And at that time, I was like, I should have been given a topic which was a bigger topic. Sinusitis seemed too small for me. But then in preparing for that talk, I learned so much that I got a good lesson in humility, that never think any topic is small or big, because every topic gives you a chance to learn. And I learned a lot in that, because when I started researching on the topic, I realized that some researchers had done some beautiful work where they found that this nitric oxide is an important component of healthy sinuses. Healthy sinuses. So healthy sinuses, the sinuses which are your entry point into the respiratory system, the rhinosinusitis, which is a common cold and people have it, for which you need nasopharyngeal hygiene. Nasopharyngeal hygiene is what your Neti process is all about. Neti, Kapalbhati, the Anunasika that we have looked up. So many practices. Warm saline gargles, steam. So warm saline gargles, steam inhalation, the Neti of your variety, whichever one you want of the Netis. And then along with that, the Kapalbhati or the Anunasika. These are excellent practices for nasopharyngeal hygiene, which is so relevant right now. During the COVID-19, I think it is very important that we maintain good nasopharyngeal hygiene. So at least steaming is very useful. Warm saline gargles are very important. They're very useful. Even if you don't have saline, at least the warm water, take it in the back of the throat. And I like to say that you should do, if you know the South Indian music, we have Sarigama Padanisa. So I say, you have to, as if you are going Sarigama, so you do the gargling. I don't want to do that. It will be a bit obnoxious. But, you put the water in and you do it. Actually, you can go right down to the base. And you get the water right down into the base of your throat. And then you come up and you can actually make different levels of sound with the gargling. And it actually cleanses this whole region. I tell you, it's such a beautiful thing to do. Most people, you say gargle, they put it in the mouth and they yeah. And it's not here. It should be down at the back of the throat, right down your vocal cord areas. So that, the warm water, warm saline if possible. Saline is very good because the salt is an antiseptic, but also it is something that takes away the negativity. Salt is known to take away negative energies. And this is why in Indian culture, whenever we want to take away what we call drishti, with salt, you do it and you throw it away, because the salt takes away the negativity. Salt is a very potent agent to clear away negativity, psychic negativities that may be there in people's life. So when you do it, physical negativities, toxins, psychic negativities, you are cleansing it all. So it's actually a very good thing to do. But even at least warm water. Then the steam inhalation, which is very good because the steam enables that humidity to be shared amongst all the orifices and clear up the sinuses, which clear up the head. In fact, today I'm going to do a bit of that because feeling a bit clogged up. So it's a good idea to do that. So coming back, when we talk about the sinuses, a healthy sinus area has a very good amount of nitric oxide. And nitric oxide, if the level is good, it means it's a healthy sinus. An unhealthy sinus has a reduced level. And these researchers had found, this was about 15 years ago when I first presented this topic, they had found that the humming produces endogenous nitric oxide. If you hum, and I have increased my nitric oxide level in my nasal cavity and sinuses. Humming. And it was very interesting. The moment I found that, I said, if humming can do it, let's look at the Nada pranayamas we have in yoga. Bhramari comes to mind straight away, where you are making the B sound. You have the pranava, where we do the Aum. You have the Brahma Mudra. All of these Nada pranayamas. Because all these Nada pranayamas, they are enhancing this. So when we did our research in Pranava Pranayama, which is one of the foundational practices of the Gitananda tradition, what we found was that many of the people who had elevated blood pressure, hypertension, we found that the Pranava Pranayama was reducing their elevated blood pressure. Systolic was coming down, diastolic was coming down. And in part of that mechanism, we postulated that the endogenous nitric oxide, when you hum, when you do the humming sound, the endogenous nitric oxide that you are now producing from within, this is where again yoga and yoga therapy empowers the individual from within. The nitric oxide, endogenous, not giving for outside. Somebody asked me about all this oxygen therapy. It's always from outside. Why do you need to get it from outside? Produce it yourself. Enhance your ability to utilize the oxygen that is coming in. When you cannot utilize the oxygen that is coming in, you need a hyperbaric oxygen tent. Because you are not able to do it, they have to give you more than normal to get you to normal. But what we have found is that when you start doing these practices, your body systems become more sensitive and they get the amount of oxygen they need from the air you breathe. When you look at most people, they are breathing so shallow. Shallow breathing is the bane of modern human beings because we don't think about it. And that is why the moment you start slow, deep breathing, you have changed the whole way your body is going to respond to the oxygen coming in and the carbon dioxide that you need to exhale. When you exhale efficiently, the carbon dioxide toxicity that is there, you are letting out of all the toxic metabolites. Now, if you want to expand the breath, you use the humming. See, the moment you bring the sound into it, I always tell people, you know, if I were to say breathe in for 4 and breathe out for 12, you are like, okay. And then you are like, too tough, Ananda. I can do up to 6, maybe 7. After that, I'm not able to breathe out. So what do? Breathe in for 4. Now while breathing out, let's make a sound. You are breathing out for such an elongated, prolonged time. Why? Sound is enabling you to slow down the process of exhalation. Slow down the way the breath is let out. When you make sound, you are slowing down the way the breath is going out. So you are taking time. You are able to extend the exhalation with sound. That is the key element here. And I never thought about it. But then the other day, I had an email from Colonel Ramesh. And he was talking about an email he had sent to an author of a recent paper on pranayama. And what was very interesting is that authority said, I'm not an authority in yoga, but I'm an authority on nitric oxide. And he said, the deeper you breathe, the more the air is passing through your nasal cavity, the more the nitric oxide is going to be there. Shallow breathing, less nitric oxide. Deep breathing, more nitric oxide. It was a beautiful thing, very simplified methodology, which I just loved and I wanted to share. That is why I decided to do this session today. And maybe it will become a Saturday morning session with Ananda on a regular basis. Let's see. Because the one thing I've had over the last few days is a bit of good cycling, which I've missed in between. So back to a bit of my cycling, and that's another type of meditation for me, cycling meditation. It really clears the mind a lot. Coming back, he said if the longer the air is in the nasal cavity, the more the nitric oxide will be there. So what he said is, if you can start extending the exhalation, you extend the exhalation. How? With the sound. Now what is happening? There's more time for the air to be in the nasal cavity, which means you are getting more nitric oxide. And suddenly I realized all these days I was wondering, how does humming enhance nitric oxide? And suddenly I got the answer. And it's beautiful. So when we are doing the practices, it is so beautiful when we do these practices. And that is where the Pranava Pranayama, which again brings in the concept, this concept of sound as healing, because it's not just nitric oxide. I'm just focusing on one angle because it's a beautiful angle. But there are multiple dimensions when sound is used. You know, when we do the Brahmari, and those of you who are with me for the global prayer sessions, you will know very well that we did 48 days, morning and evening, 96 sessions of 27 rounds of Brahmari. And I know that some of you are doing your own continuation of that. I know some of you have been doing 50, 60 sessions now. I'm so proud of each and every one of you. And it means a lot when other people can be inspired by this. You know, when we are doing the sound is the expression of vibration. I'm going to repeat that for those of you who are sleeping. Sound is the expression of vibration. So there is vibration. How do you express it? Sound. So when you go, it is not just the sound of but the vibration that is induced by that makara. The making. Kara means to make. The making of the Now when you make this sound, try getting your tongue close to your palate. So instead of just it becomes something else. If you take your tongue and sort of try to touch your palate, suddenly you will see a difference in the way that sound, you actually will start to feel the vibration of the sound better. Try it out. Not just the it's not the but it's the you are elevating it, and you are actually now starting not just to focus on the external sound. You are starting to experience the vibration that actually lifts things up. It lifts things up. It's not just down here. And that is why when we do the Brahmari, it is so important that we focus on what type of sound we are making. Now, different people have different pitches of the voice, and we call it the Shruti in the Indian music. So, for example, most of the men are going to have a Shruti which is of a more basal tone. So, it's going to be like Sa would be my bass. Sa. So then I base on that. Sa re ga ma pa da ni sa. Sa is the upper note. Sa is the lower note. Sa re ga ma pa. Sa re ga ma pa. Pa is the mid note. Sa re ga ma. Sa re ga ma pa da ni sa. sa, sa, sa. This is the higher upper octave, the lower octave. Sa, 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 sa. In between, pa, sa, pa, sa, pa, sa, pa, sa. And in between, then you have all the notes going up and down. Sa re ga ma pa da ni sa ni da ba ma ga re sa re ga ma pa da ni sa ni da ba ma ga re sa. And we have this beautiful set of patterns. Swarabali Vadasai. Sa he ga ma pa da ni sa ni da ba ma ga re sa he ga ma pa da ni sa ni da ba ma ga re sa ga ma pa da ni sa ni da ba ma ga re sa. And what you do is that you learn how these different places are. What is the sthana of each of the swaras? So normally when a masculine voice is singing, you would expect more of this. Whereas when it's a feminine voice, it's more going to be like what would be my upper octave becomes the lower octave for someone like Divya. So when Divya is singing, she is singing at what we call the Shruti 6. C, D, E, F, G. That type of C is the bass. So C is like what we would consider the Shruti 1. So and then below that you have B and A. And nowadays I'm singing more like A and B basically. She is singing at the upper octave becomes her starting point. So for me it is Sa, Pa, Sa. For her it is Sa, Pa, Sa. That is her pitch. My pitch is different, her pitch is different. Devasana's pitch is around the middle of that, between both of us. So her pitch is around like 4.5, what we would call, is her Shruti, where she is comfortable singing with her bass. Each person is going to have a different pitch at which they are comfortable. That is their own individual pitch. If I ask someone who's used to singing at sa re ga ma to sing at sa re ga ma pa da ni sa ni da ba ma ga sa ni da ba, it's not going to sound like music at all. It will be baka noise and that person could get so stressed out. And somebody who's used to singing there, I go sa re ga. Each of us has to sing at our own pitch. Why am I going through all of this? Because when you do the Bhramari Pranayama, you have to do the sound at your pitch, not somebody else's pitch. You need to do it at somebody else. If you do it at somebody else's pitch, you are not vibrating. You have to vibrate at your own frequency by making the sound at your own pitch. Pitch, frequency, vibration, all of these are physics. So when we are teaching a class, we have everybody, okay, we'll do Bhramari, and everybody's going, It's helping some people, it's not helping others. So what I always suggest, try out different pitches. For those who it works, good. But if not, okay, for those who it works, good. Others, okay, those who worked, you're out of the equation. Those who still haven't found the pitch, you have to try out different pitches and see which one is vibrating in here. Now, in a common class, it is very difficult because that means everybody is going to be at their own pitch. But what I'm saying is for your own sadhana, when Bhramari becomes your sadhana. And when you want to feel this, it is very important, if you want to feel it, that the ears have to be closed. So some people, they close it like this, they do like this, they do like this, they do like this. Normally, I prefer the Shanmukhi Mudra. Okay, so closing with the thumbs. Now, don't close too much, you will not hear me. Okay, but closing with your thumbs, when you close with your thumbs, what you do is that you block out all the external sound. When you block out all the external sound, you can start to focus inside. Otherwise, I'm focusing externally. The focus has to go internal. That is why Bhramari is one of the Samyama pranayamas in Swamiji's teachings. It induces a state of introspection. Then closing the two eyes, regulating the nose and feeling the vibration at the fingers. Some people put one here, one here, one here, one here. It is each person's variation. I like to put both fingers here because this enables me to block out the light more effectively. The idea of the Shanmukhi Mudra, also called Yoni Mudra, is to block out the external light, the external sound, regulate the sense of the breathing through the nostrils and the feeling the vibration at the mouth. The concept of the Shanmukhi is that the 6 aspects are brought under control. It is one of the Pratyahara Mudras. It is one of the Pratyahara Mudras because what you are doing is you are sort of trying to move from the senses and move in. So when you do the Shanmukhi Mudra, it is also called Yoni Mudra. Yoni means the womb. And just as the baby, when it's in the mother's womb, is protected, the amniotic fluid is around the baby, the uterus is around the baby, the abdominopelvic region, the external musculature. So what the baby is perceiving is more of vibration rather than sound. And we have done some nice work checking out on the pranava being done by the mothers and how it impacts their heart rate as well as the fetal heart rate. And it's very beautiful. So it's not really the sound, it's more the vibration. That yoni is the womb in which the baby is there. So when you do the Shanmukhi Mudra, you have that feeling of being back in your mother's womb. A feeling of being in a safe space. A place where you are safe, you are being taken care of. It is a very important component when we do the Bhramari. And the moment you close the external auditory canal, you can start to focus. And you start to see which of those sounds is enabling you to have maximum vibration inside your skull. Your whole skull should be vibrating. Every brain cell should be vibrating when you do this. A sense of every cell vibrating, dancing with the music. And try out different pitches. For me today, that is the pitch which is vibrating for me today. Each will have their own pitch at which that vibration is felt. Your whole skull should be just vibrating. It is not trying to attune to somebody else's vibration. It is attuning to your own vibration. That is the key here. So important that you are vibrating with your own frequency. When you vibrate at your frequency, maybe you enable others to, and that makes them feel safe when they are with you. Can you be someone with whom people can feel safe? Isn't that so important? I was talking about the importance of, having in your yoga studios, in your yoga classes, having a space where people feel safe. So important. That people can just come into that space and feel like they have come home. The feeling after a long tour when you come home and You lie down in your own bed. When you go someplace where you feel completely at ease, people should have that type of feeling. At Yoganjali, I think one of the best things I like about Yoganjali is that all the children feel like they come home when they come to Yoganjali. It's not going someplace, but actually coming home. So important that we create that space where people can feel at ease. How can you create that space if you are not at ease with yourself? When we do the Brahmari, you are attuning to your own vibration. You are harmonizing with your own vibration. Nitric oxide is becoming more. No doubt about it. You have slowed down the respiration. Air is spending more time in your nasal passage. There is more nitric oxide there. The nitric oxide enables the sinuses to be healthy. It relaxes the blood vessels. Why does nitric oxide relax the blood vessels while the humming is making you feel at home? When you feel at home, you are relaxed. When you are at home, you are relaxed because you don't have to be something else. I think the most important thing is to enable people to feel that they are accepted as they are. One of my beloved students, Krishnaveni, who in our dance is sort of the one who streamlines and systematizes all my compositions. And during the lockdown, I think about 50 videos they have made of my compositions and putting it together. I don't know my own compositions. I compose them and then they are done. That's all. And the other day she said there's a Pancha Jadi Jadiswaram, the 5 rhythmic patterns. And I'm like, seriously? She says yes. And then yesterday I saw the video where they had done it. But I remember a statement that Krishnaveni had made. I think a very beautiful statement she made once. She said, at Yoganjali, it was the first place I was accepted for what I was and not expected to be something else. I think young people, not just young people, we need to have a place where we are accepted as we are and we don't have to pretend to be something else. Because in the world, most of the places you go, you have to be pretending you are something you are not. And if you pretend you are something you are not, you will never be at ease with yourself. I think that is the space you have to create, where people are respected for what they are, who they are. So many times my dear spiritual daughter Reena has said this. So many times she has said it, as Meena is mentioning here in the comments. It is so important that people feel at ease with you. Create a space where people can come and feel at ease, not feel threatened, not feel that they have to act as if they are something else to be in that space or to be with you. If people have to act like something to be with you, how will they will never be themselves. And this is why the Brahmari is not just, it is one of the Ashtakumbhakas, it's a classical pranayama, so do the Shanmukhi Mudra, and some people do it this way. I don't care what you do. That is your business. But what I'm saying is the external auditory canal has to be closed so that you can start to go in. Otherwise, it's a bit difficult. When we did the global prayer, I made a decision from the beginning not to do it because otherwise having everybody do this for 27 rounds and have hand issues and all, I said let's focus on just the sound and the connectivity. So we were not doing it. But otherwise, the Shanmukhi Mudra, Yoni Mudra, and then making the sound. Beautiful sense of harmony comes inside. You take your mind in. It creates the beautiful opportunity for Swadhyaya to manifest in your life. Swadhyaya is such an important component of the yoga sadhana. Because Swadhyaya is your internal GPS. Now, if you don't go in, how do you connect to your GPS? If you are not connecting to yourself, how do you even know you have your GPS? Many people have a GPS, but it's not on. How do you put your internal GPS on? By starting to look inward. You put on your internal GPS by starting to look inward. That is where Swadhyaya comes in. We are always interested in what is happening outside. We are always Bahira Mukha. We are always externally facing. We need to start to become Antara Mukha. We need to start facing inward. The moment you start facing inward, that is where, so important. So important. Really, really it is important that through the Brahmari, you are feeling at ease with yourself. No wonder your blood vessels are going to dilate and there's going to be nitric oxide. So scientifically we say humming is slowing down your breathing, enhancing nitric oxide, endogenous nitric oxide. What does the endogenous nitric oxide do? It helps your blood vessels relax. Your blood pressure comes down. If your blood pressure comes down, your heart doesn't have to pump so much. Your heart rate starts to come down. The peripheral blood flow, the perfusion to the tissues enhances. All scientific load of you know what. Huh? But what is the most important thing happening? When you do the Brahmari, you are starting to go in. Your internal GPS is activated. You are making a sound. That is why always remember the Brahmari should be at your own individual pitch. And as I told you, today for me, I am finding, it may change from day to day also. Today for me, it was something like, that is a pitch for me today, where every cell in my brain was vibrating. My whole skull was just vibrating, an amazing feeling. And again, remember your tongue against the palate. And suddenly, you are vibrating at your own individual frequency. When you vibrate at your own individual frequency, you are at ease with yourself. What is that ease? Sukham. What is the opposite of Sukham? Dukkham, suffering. Why do you suffer? Because you are vibrating at somebody else's frequency, not your frequency. That is why Krishna reminds us, do your swadharma, however small or big it may be. Do not try to do somebody else's dharma. You are to do your dharma. You are to vibrate at your frequency, not somebody else's frequency. If you are vibrating at your frequency, you are healthy. I think that's a good message to stop with for this Saturday morning session. I missed being with all of you, so I said, what do I do? And I created an excuse that I need to talk about nitric oxide levels and humming and Brahmari. And maybe we will convert this into a regular Saturday morning session so that we get to meet each other in this way. It's tough to keep away from all of you after 108 days of being with you. So we'll do this, and there are so many other things coming. We'll be having our Sunday sessions, Tell Me Appa with Divya, Thursday evening, Twinkling Thursdays, as she said the other day. I love that. Twinkling Thursday, bhajans. We'll have so many other opportunities coming up. And tomorrow I am giving a talk for the yoga festival in the UK. I have shared it. I will share it again. So it is on mental health in view of the Yoga Darshana, a topic which I am very happy about. It's 3 p.m. UK time. So find out what is the time. I'll share it again. The World Yoga Festival in the UK, and a beautiful festival I attended last year. So looking forward to connecting. There are so many ways to connect. Today we are having the last of our sessions of the Adhikara Yoga, and as I was cycling, I was thinking, what next? And some ideas are coming up, so I'll keep you all informed, and lot of stuff happening. So just keep sharing, keep caring, because sharing is caring, and the more you share, the more comes back. I just wanted to share something from yesterday, because yesterday I was cursing the universe. Yes, Dr. Ananda does curse, and Dr. Ananda does curse God and the universe. I'm human. We all are human, so some things had happened this week and had sort of shaken my trust in the universe a bit. And then yesterday, some of you know what happened was that I had an email from someone who said, Dr. Ananda, I purchased your Siddhis and Riddhis book on Amazon, and the book has come and it is totally, unreadable and half pages and all. Can I have a readable copy? And I was like, none of my books are on Amazon, means ashram books. None of the ashram books are on Amazon. Some of them are coming. Jnanadev and Deepika are putting their books on Amazon, and other things are coming. My DVDs are there and other things, but not the ashram books, and especially not Swamiji's books. So I said, you have purchased it from somebody else, and it's not my business, and I left it. Then I had a thought. I said, this person purchased it because they wanted to read Swami Gitananda's Siddhis and Riddhis. So then, isn't it my dharma to do something? So I said, okay, fine. You may have been scammed by an unscrupulous, unethical person, but my dharma is to share the actual book with you. So I sent the link for the ebook to this person. And I thought, okay, that's it. The person will get it and leave it, and it's done. Couple of hours later, I get an email from that person saying, thank you so much, Dr. Ananda, for your generosity of sending it. But my dharma doesn't allow me to receive anything without Guru Dakshina. So I have transferred the amount to your bank account. I tell you, the universe, the day that I was really mad at the universe, cursing it and saying, you do not work, the universe again reminded me, you live your dharma, and what is to come will come back to you. I did what I felt was right in giving that person the book, even though they had not paid me for it. They had purchased it on a site that had nothing to do with me. I felt my dharma was to share because they were looking for my father's teachings. And the universe, through that person, taught me that when you do the right thing will come back. Because sometimes we start to really question whether when we do the right thing, whether the right thing comes back. And the universe said, just when I was really doubting it, it said, well, Ananda, I do know what I'm doing, so have trust. It is in trust that we can have surrender to the universe. And that's where Ishvara Pranidhana comes in. So that's the thought for the day today. Trust leads to surrender. And that is the connection, the Shraddha we need to have with the universe. Because the universe truly is benevolent. And the universe is definitely there with us. In us, we are the universe. Have a wonderful day. Namaste.